Hey everybody, welcome back to the Nourished and Thriving Show. I'm Katie Lovett, registered dietitian. I'm so happy that you're here with us tonight. I'm back from vacation. I was on the road in Kentucky last week. I actually talked about what a dietitian might eat on vacation. So if you have any upcoming spring or summer travel, make sure you go check that episode out. While you're joining us, come in and like this show, subscribe to our channel. It really helps us reach more people. Me and all the other hosts of these shows are, just wanting to be here to help you guys. So the more people we can help, the better. I think I'm maybe the most excited about this episode out of all of the shows that I've done. This is like really where I jive. This is my wheelhouse. I love talking about this stuff and I love teaching this stuff. So the title of today's show is why maybe you're eating enough calories but still exhausted and just feeling drained. I don't know if you guys have ever gone on like a calorie restricted diet and maybe cut the calories a little bit too low and just felt awful, fatigued, exhausted, just beat down, run over by a train type of feeling. But sometimes you might feel like that and be eating enough. And so we're really going to unpack that. I'm going to teach you guys more about your bodies, why that might happen tonight. And I think knowledge is power, right? So whenever we understand our bodies better, we know why to action. So I'm really excited about that. And most people, it's always really interesting to me as a dietitian to think through or listen to people talk about how they think of food and how they think of its role in our bodies. A lot of people, if they think about food at all, it may be about calories and weight control. Sometimes people are like, we don't even really think about food. It's just whatever tastes good or sounds good or whatever's available. And I think that this thought of food has really progressed a lot in the last probably even 50 years, 50 definitely to 100 years. I've said this on the show before, but 100 years ago, the issue was just getting enough calories, enough food, enough energy to not starve to death, right? And we also didn't have that big of an understanding around our bodies, the biochemistry. We didn't understand the different macronutrients, micronutrients, all of that about food. Nutrition is a really new science. And so it's not your fault if you don't know all of this. Nobody's teaching you this in school. Your parents most likely didn't know this. unless you had a dietitian as a parent. My poor kids, they don't stand a chance. All their friends always laugh about, my lunches and stuff that I send them, but in an endearing way. But you don't know about this stuff. Nobody's teaching you. And so I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to be here tonight to tell you. So your body uses nutrients from food to run thousands of processes every single second. Thousands of biochemical reactions every second in our body. I have a map that I'm going to show you here in just a second about, or Kevin's going to put up on the screen for you guys in a minute, that maps out the known biochemical processes in our body. It's a lot. And it's every function in our body, from energy production, which I mentioned, detoxification, which is a big hot topic always that's trendy about different detoxes and stuff like that. That's one of my most asked questions. Hormone balance, brain chemistry, all of this requires nutrients that we get from food. And so tonight we're actually going to look and see, I'm going to show you guys what that looks like in your body, how it's mapped out, exactly how these nutrients get utilized. What happens if those nutrients aren't there? It's not some like mystical, magical process that we don't really understand how it works. In some parts, we still don't fully understand everything. Our bodies are amazing and they're so complex. And, our God who made us is so creative, and it's really cool learning more about our bodies. That's why I became a dietitian. I love the biochemistry, the organic biochemistry stuff. With our body processes. So we're going to look at that. But throughout this evening, and then as you go about the rest of your week, I want you to think of a process. I'm a very visual person, so I want you to map out in your mind food with an arrow over to nutrients, with an arrow over to cellular reactions, over to how you feel. Okay, so what food you eat gives you certain nutrients or doesn't give you certain nutrients, which helps fuel cellular reactions or doesn't fuel cellular reactions, and that impacts how you feel better or worse. Okay, a lot of people just don't realize, that it matters that much what we eat, that vegetables do matter, fruits do matter, whole grains and protein and all of that actually is really important. Our bodies don't just magic all of this stuff into being. They're very adaptable. They're very resilient, but they do need the raw materials. So calories are not the function of it. That's not really, honestly, I think in the grand scheme of things, calories are maybe the least interesting thing about your diet to me. They still matter, of course. If you're eating a huge surplus of calories, you're going to gain weight and maybe you don't want to. If you're not eating enough calories, you're going to lose weight. You can starve to death, certainly. But it's so much more complex and nuanced than that. I think calories are just important to kind of have a gut check on, but not super important, honestly, when I'm assessing my patients. So nutrients, I mentioned this, is, nutrients are tools. They're instructions, okay? Food is kind of the information and raw materials for all of these processes or not. And without them, these systems slow down or become dysfunctional. And, something really interesting, whenever I was doing my advanced credential in integrative and functional nutrition, was this concept of the triage theory, okay? And I always think back to my college days. I'm going to tell you guys how old I am by saying this. When we would watch Grey's Anatomy, we would move our sorority meetings to a different time on Sundays once it became such a big show so that everyone could watch Grey's Anatomy. This was before all the streaming services where you just watch stuff whenever you wanted, right? It only came on Sundays at 8:00 or something like that. There's this one episode, and I don't remember exactly the details. It was something like a wedding party. It was like a big group of people. It was supposed to be a celebration. I think it was a wedding actually. And they were on this big charter bus. Tell me in the comments if you guys remember this episode, but it made a really lasting impact to me. So you're on this big, like 50 passenger charter bus, and the bus crashed. Okay. So you've got like 50 or so people now injured from this crash. And, so they all get transported, of course, to whatever the hospital was in Grey's Anatomy. And the medical team is meeting up at the door, and they're triaging these patients as they're coming in, who's already deceased, who needs to be seen super urgently, or they will also become deceased, who needs to be seen medium urgently, and who needs a Band-Aid, or can wait a while. And so they were categorizing these patients by triaging them. So the triage theory with our bodies and nutrition kind of works the same way. Your body right now, the most important thing is surviving today, right? It needs to survive today. Beyond that, it wants to reproduce. So if you're at reproductive age, it is going to do everything it can to sustain reproduction traits and qualities in your body. It's not worried about your quality of life or your health status when you're 60. It just needs to get through today and to reproduce so that the human species doesn't die off. And then when you get to 60, cool, like it'll worry about that tomorrow. But because that day may or may not ever come. And so if there's a shortage of these nutrients, I guess let's close the loop on this. If there's a shortage of nutrients, your body is going to put off these processes that have a longer term impact. And so we start to see a lot more dysfunction and chronic illness as we age. And it's not just something that suddenly happens whenever you turn 60, although that may be what it feels like some days. A lot of the time, it's really kind of a slow burn that's been taking decades to become established. Does that make sense? You guys let me know if that makes sense here. But yeah, so that's the triage theory. And so nutrients are really important so that we can support those body systems over time. So Kevin, let's pull up that biochemical chart here. I kind of teased that out. Is it up? Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to pull it up on my screen too, actually, because I can see it. So do you guys see this chart? It looks crazy, right?
If this were a map, I would not know where to start, where to begin.
I think you said it looked like something your like 5 or 6 year old drew, right? Yeah. And these are just the known reactions, right? It's crazy. And like, this is not a super high quality photo where we can like zoom in and see it all. But if you zoom in, a lot of the written text here is actually nutrients, like different vitamins and minerals and stuff. And so this is just a map. Like, this is what's happening in your body right this second. Like, just stand in awe at that for a second, right? Like, as you're sitting here listening to me chit chat, as you guys are talking about goat milk in the chat, I see y'all. This is what your body's doing. How amazing is that? But it needs nutrients to be able to do that. Let's see. So those reactions, and I said, vitamins, minerals, other things that they need are amino acids, phytonutrients, Yeah, you can stop sharing it. Sorry. So phytonutrients, amino acids, minerals, vitamins, and those are just the reactions we know about. Like I said, nutrition is a pretty new science. There's so much we don't understand yet or fully know. And there's a lot about food that we don't know either, right? Like eating food has so many more compounds in it than like a multivitamin supplement type of thing. We're just getting a lot more enzymes and all of that. But without those raw ingredients, that reaction slows down. So like if you think about it like a toolbox, your body knows the job that needs to get done. But if the right tools aren't in the toolbox, it's not going to do it, or it's not going to do it as well as if it had the right tools that it needed, if that makes sense. So a few examples of the systems that are affected are energy. I mentioned that. We're actually going to look at how your body makes energy and what that looks like in a second. Detoxification. I mentioned that also. We're also going to look at detoxification. You guys get all of your You guys get all of your detox questions ready for me. Immune function, hormone regulation, gut health. Like those are just like 5, right? Like there's so much more. Everything is affected by this. So let's get into these examples. I hope you guys will like nerd out with me as much as I hope we will. So let's pull up the mitochondria. Kevin, I'm testing his biology knowledge, by the way. Let me know when that guy's ready. We good? Okay. So mitochondria. What are they? Do you guys remember mitochondria and the Krebs cycle or TCA cycle from 9th grade biology class? This is a great topic because fatigue is really universal. I think a lot of people are really tired all the time. They don't have the energy they feel like they would like to have throughout their day. So energy is actually made in the mitochondria. And it's called ATP, adenosine triphosphate, and it's energy. Food gets turned into glucose and fat, and then your mitochondria actually turn that into ATP. They do this through a few different processes, but they require different nutrients. It depends partly on if you're in ketosis, if you're not in ketosis, as to which way it goes. But I really want to highlight the nutrients that are written in red in this image. Forgive me for looking at my screen for a second because I want to pull out some examples for you guys. So the process requires B vitamins, magnesium, iron, coenzyme Q10 or CoQ10, and amino acids, which are kind of the building blocks of proteins. And you can see here how up at the top, these black circles, you've got proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. Those are our micronutrients, right? And how then our body uses each one of those to get broken down into different cycles. Sorry. And then they all go into this Krebs cycle. And then the electron transport chain. And so you guys can see, B vitamins are needed for carbohydrates and protein from the very start. Fats need carnitine, which is an amino acid. B vitamins are needed all throughout this. Magnesium, manganese, biotin, which is a B vitamin too. Iron. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this surprising to y'all? Have y'all seen this before with all of these nutrients needed? And so your body can have enough calories, but if it doesn't have these nutrients and enough of these nutrients, and keep in mind, these nutrients are used in other parts of your body as well. On that big map that we just showed a minute ago, these nutrients are used in other places on that map too. This is just zoomed in into one of those processes. But if you don't have enough of some of these nutrients, then you're going to be feeling tired. Your body's not going to create ATP or energy like it needs to. Does this make sense to you guys? Did you guys know this yet? Had y'all seen this? Kevin, is this surprising to you?
I remember ATP.
You remember ATP?
That was it.
Yeah.
I've heard mitochondria, but I could not tell you where, what, why.
You didn't know ATP was as important as it is, I remember having to memorize the Krebs cycle, right, in human physiology in college. It's a lot to memorize. But yeah, the mitochondria are really cool too, because they used to actually be their own little bacterial organisms, and then they've moved into our cells and create energy for us. It's pretty cool. Keith, your body wouldn't know what to do if all those nutrients showed up. You might be amazed. You might feel more energetic and awesome. So yeah, you guys can see then how if you don't have these raw ingredients, you may feel fatigue. You may have brain fog, right? Which is kind of that lack of energy, afternoon crashes, stuff like that. And I got this image from Dr. William Wallace, by the way. So I want to make sure I give him credit where credit's due. I think he got that from a research paper though. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. Hang on. Sorry. I got a different PDF that popped up when I tried to close that one. Do y'all ever have that happen on your computer? I have too many windows open ever.
All the time.
Let me always have too many windows open. So you guys kind of can see like energy isn't just about eating more. A lot of the time, if we're feeling like hangry, right, we want to reach for those readily digestible carbohydrates, the like white bread, crackers, a candy bar, something like that. And that's our body's way of trying to survive, because those carbs digest and absorb in your small intestine really quickly. But the problem with that is if it doesn't have those B vitamins, magnesium, CoQ10, all of that, you're going to still feel tired, or your blood sugar is going to spike and give you this false sense of energy. And then you're going to crash down when that blood sugar crashes, because you haven't been able to create this sustainable energy over time, if that makes sense. Fast fuel, Leslie, you're exactly right. So I wanted to give you guys a few food examples for this. So B vitamins, some good sources of B vitamins are leafy greens, whole grains, and not even just like whole grain bread. Like let's think about like quinoa, kamut, spelt, like some of these ancient grains. When's the last time you ate some of those, you know? And then meat, especially grass-fed meat, is going to be higher in those nutrients, grass-fed, grass-finished. Magnesium is going to be like nuts, seeds, spinach. A lot of people actually don't have enough magnesium these days either. This is kind of a hot topic, so y'all may already have heard this. But our soil, because of our modern farming practices, has become pretty depleted in minerals, including magnesium. And so the food that we're eating today, we're getting enough calories, right? Today, people aren't starving to death normally because they're not getting enough calories, but it's not as nutrient rich. The food that we do have is poorer quality. I think we all, agree with that. But a lot of people don't have enough magnesium. So if you're getting blood work done anytime soon, maybe ask your doctor to just check your magnesium levels and make sure that you have enough. Because some people do find that they need to supplement, even if they're eating plenty of nuts, seeds, spinach, magnesium rich foods. And then protein. Protein is another really hot trending topic right now. It's the current weight loss magic bullet. You're supposed to eat like, I don't even want to say how much, a lot of protein. But this is like eggs, chicken, fish, Greek yogurt. And again, quality matters, you guys. Quality matters. Buy the best quality you have access to and are able to, because they do have other nutrients in them as well. If you think about like grass-fed beef, for example, versus conventionally raised, like the conventionally raised, it's at least finished right at a feedlot. I grew up in the Panhandle, so we know feedlots there. But it's corn, and corn is very starchy. That meat is typically more marbled, which a lot of people prefer. It's not going to be as lean, but marbled is fat. It can be kind of more inflammatory fat because it's corn. They're fed a high carbohydrate diet. So the same thing that happens to our bodies when we're fed a high carbohydrate diet happens to the cows' bodies. And then we're eating that meat. So we're eating those compounds. Versus a cow that is fed grass, it's getting all of those micronutrients and phytonutrients from the grass. And that is what is building its muscle. And so those micronutrients and phytonutrients then get transferred to us by eating that meat. So it's not just protein in the meat. There's other compounds as well. Grass-fed meat actually is a source of omega-3 fatty acids, which people typically think of from like avocados, olives, salmon, stuff like that. Grass-fed beef has some in that too. Same thing with chicken, eggs, fish, all of that. Yeah, Kevin, bugs are grass-fed. You go eat yourself some bugs. It's a good source of protein too. We used to eat bugs, right? Like they still eat bugs around the world. It's the wildest thing I've heard or considered doing in a while, but
wouldn't he be kind of accomplishing like 2 in 1? You said beef being grass-fed and leafy greens and.
If you want to eat bugs.
I've eaten a lot of bugs. They are amazing.
Are they?
They are dope. They taste just like pecans, roasted pecans.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Like grasshoppers?
Yeah.
Or crickets?
Oh, yeah, both.
Yeah? Huh. Interesting. Like roasted?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Because I know you've had a lot of like international travel.
And they are incredible. They're amazing.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I'm brave enough. I all know about like the eyeballs and the antenna. I don't know. I don't know if I can get past it.
I couldn't get past the juicier parts.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm that brave, but they'd be a great source of nutrients, I am sure, and affordable. And affordable. Lugnut wants to know, can you have too much prebiotics and probiotics? So, if you're supplementing, absolutely yes. It's easy to overdo it with supplements. Supplements have higher levels of those things than from food. If you're getting it from food, probably not. Like maybe if you're, all of a sudden increasing your fiber, you're at like 2 to 5 grams of fiber a day and you're like, I'm getting enough fiber tomorrow, so I'm going to eat 35 grams of fiber tomorrow. Yeah, there's going to be an adaptation period. So I would ease up slowly, increase slowly on those prebiotics with that. So for people who may get like prebiotics confused, all fiber is a prebiotic. But there are other types of prebiotics as well, including phytonutrients, the like nutrients from the colorful parts of fruits and veggies. So it's not common that we would overeat vegetables, right? Like I don't know someone who's eaten so much spinach that it made them sick or anything like that. It's pretty easy to regulate those whole foods, which is another perk of eating them. And then, the probiotics, again, if it's coming from like probiotic foods, probably not, that's pretty easy to moderate and regulate with just how our eating habits and satiety signals are. But if you're taking a ton of probiotic supplements, it can cause some damage. Leslie is asking, can fast fuel cause inflammation? I love this question. Yes, because what it does is, remember I said it's fast to digest, fast to absorb. It's pretty much all carbohydrates, simple carbohydrates, which makes your blood sugar go up, which makes your insulin go up to match it. Okay. Because insulin is like the escort for sugar into our storage cells, which are muscles and fat cells. So if you're under muscled, you're going to store it in your fat. And you're going to make new fat cells to make room for it if you've run out of room in the ones you have. If you're insulin resistant because all of your fat cells are full and they're like barring their door against the insulin, your body's going to like crank out the insulin to like beat down the door of the fat cells, if that makes sense. Insulin makes cortisol increase. Cortisol is an inflammatory response. Okay. So if your insulin is always high, your cortisol is always going to be elevated as well with it. So that's kind of how that works. Let me know if that makes sense, Leslie. That was a good question.
He had another good question too about red grapes and green grapes. Lugnut. Oh, he was asking if red or green grapes are bad for you if you have diabetes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, bad, good. I don't like using those like qualifying words generally. Grapes are a more sugary fruit. They can cause your blood sugar to increase if you want to enjoy them. Have you guys heard the term like don't eat naked carbs? I think I've said it on the show before. Pair it with protein, fat, fiber, and that's going to, instead of your blood sugar going like this, it's going to make your blood sugar, go a little more easy. Chew them really well so that you can really digest them well. Watch your portion size because they are, sweet, and so we can't overeat them. Another thing you can try, is taking some vinegar diluted in water beforehand, like apple cider vinegar. I actually just heard about tart cherry vinegar at a conference a couple weeks ago that sounded really good. It's the acetic acid in the vinegar that does it. So it's apple cider is like the most commonly discussed, but any kind of vinegar probably would help. But that can help reduce the spike as well.
Like pickled grapes?
No. It's like put, some vinegar, I think it's a teaspoon or two, in water and drink that.
Okay.
And then eat the grapes.
Gotcha. Well,
I mean, you could pickle grapes and that would make your blood sugar not go up as much either.
But that sounds like it might be interesting too.
Yeah. But yeah, another option, Lugnut, is if you've ever done finger pricks, right? I'm sure you have, if you have diabetes, before you eat the grapes. and then an hour after to see what the spike is like. Everyone is affected differently by different foods, or if you ever have access to a continuous glucose monitor, that would be something to check. One person can eat grapes and be fine. The next person can eat grapes and they'll have a huge 100-point spike or something. So it's really personal. But those things I mentioned first can help kind of mitigate a spike if it's something that you have. But it's something you can definitely experiment with and see. Let's see here. Seeds, are we back to bugs again? Okay. We're talking about all the things. Okay. So that's energy. Do you guys have any other questions about that? We talked protein, magnesium, B vitamins, sources of those, why they're needed to create energy. Does this make sense to everybody? Cool. So let's go through our next example, which is detoxification. Comment in the chat if you have been, advertised or marketed to for some wonky, crazy, off the chart detox protocol, procedure, supplement, diet,
legit oregano oil, something else kind of oils.
Foot detoxes, all these like detoxy things. So I feel like it's a really misunderstood topic. Do you want to pull up the liver one? This is a picture of your liver, guys, in case you haven't seen one in a while. So our bodies are really cool, is in case we haven't like fully exhausted that realization tonight. But it detoxes for us, right? Like our body is constantly detoxing. I like this image here because down in the right-hand corner, the gray box, it gives some examples of different toxins, because I think a lot of the time we think of toxins as either this like mystical, confusing thing or like chemicals only. But we actually have endotoxins, which are just byproducts of that Krebs cycle energy production that we showed up. There's kind of some waste products from that our body needs to get rid of. There's bacterial endotoxins too. So those are the more like inflammatory bacteria in your microbiome in your gut if they become overgrown. Because those endotoxins can build up, and especially if your liver is not functioning the way it should, detoxification pathways are not open, which we'll talk about what that means in a minute. Those bacterial endotoxins can build up and cause a lot of inflammation, fatigue, muscle aches, stuff like that. And then exotoxins are things outside of the body, exo, so not coming from inside of our body. So drugs, prescription, over-the-counter, recreational, right? Like those all have chemicals and waste products that our bodies have to clear. Agricultural chemicals, so pesticides, herbicides, food additives, colorings, artificial flavors, artificial sugar, like the things that our bodies can't use, processing aids, preservatives, all of those things. Household chemicals, so cleaning supplies, personal care products, candle, stuff, scents, all of that, pollutants, contaminants, microbial stuff. It could be like mycotoxins from mold. All of that stuff, our body has to process and clear and get rid of the junk. It's like decluttering constantly to get rid of all of this stuff. And you can see, here in this picture, we have phase 1 and phase 2 listed. And then sometimes over on the right, it says excretory derivatives, polar water soluble, bile, feces or stool, serum, kidneys, and urine. This is sometimes referred to as phase 3 detoxification, as the actual excretion. Okay, so let's actually start with phase 1 over in the top left. So we have these like enzymes, cytochrome P450 enzymes are needed. And this is where basically you have these toxins that are fat soluble, and you've got to make them water soluble to get out of your body, because they leave the body through water, bile, stool, serum, kidneys, urine. Unless you're malabsorbing fat and having a lot of fat in your stool, all of those are water based. So, they cannot bind lipid, fat soluble things. It has to be water soluble. So this process is basically taking something that's fat soluble and making it water soluble through a lot of processes. It's really cool how our bodies do this. So toxins are stored in fat, okay, fat cells. If you have a lot high toxin load, this could be another reason that you have more like inflammatory fat, that you're gaining weight, that type of stuff. It's not just calories and blood sugar. High toxic burden also can stimulate that because your body needs a place to store all of those if it's not properly able to get rid of them through this detoxification process. Okay. So they first become more reactive in the phase 1. They become the most harmful and the most toxic in phase 1. So if anyone is ever doing anything like a supplement protocol or anything like that, and they're focusing on this phase 1, but you're constipated, or you're not drinking enough water, or you're not sweating, or you don't have enough nutrients to drive phase 2 detoxification, which we'll talk about in a minute, this phase 1 really harmful reactive toxins build up, and they can actually cause more damage than when they were like safely stored in your fat cells. Does that make sense? This is also a really big concern if you're losing a lot of weight rapidly, anytime you're losing weight. This is another reason why we don't want somebody yo-yo dieting, where they're dropping 50 pounds, gaining 60, dropping 75 pounds, gaining 50. Like every time you release those fat cells, you're also releasing toxins, which can build up and cause inflammation and damage to your body. Okay, so that's my big like overarching warning there is like, and anytime I'm working with a patient on detoxification, we start with phase 3. Are you going to the bathroom regularly? Are you sweating? Are you drinking enough water? All of that. Then we move into phase 2, make sure that's open, and then we'll move into phase 1 support, okay? So we kind of go backwards. So the reactions in this phase 1 are oxidation, reduction, hydrolysis, hydration, and dehalogenation. And they need all of these nutrients. So again, our B vitamins. Folic acid is listed here. I loved this image too much to get rid of it, but folic acid is actually the synthetic man-made version of folate, which is a B vitamin. So B vitamins, glutathione, if you've heard of taking glutathione for detoxification, that is why. But the problem you can see is it's for phase 1. So if you start just popping a ton of glutathione and your phase 2 and phase 3 detox systems aren't supported, you can have a buildup of those reactive toxins in there. Branched chain amino acids, we're getting those from protein. Flavonoids, those are coming from colorful fruits and veggies, and then phospholipids. And then it goes into this reactive oxygen intermediates, which again are more potentially damaging. We can get secondary tissue damage if it circulates here. We have free radicals. Y'all may have heard of free radicals before. And you can see all of these antioxidant protective nutrients that are going to help protect your body from any tissue damage from these reactive oxygen species, these free radicals, okay, in this yellow box in the center here. Are y'all with me? Am I getting like too physiological over here? Y'all with me?
If anything, I think they can truly follow along with this slide.
Good.
The last one was a bit rough. I'll explain it later.
Okay. So then phase 2 is conjugation. Okay. This is where we then bind up those reactive guys and make them a little bit less harmful than the phase 1 guys. So those reactions are sulfation, glucuronidation, glutathione conjugation, acetylation, amino acid conjugation, methylation. So this is all binding. Conjugation is like a binding, right? Does that make sense? And then the nutrients that it uses for this are more amino acids, okay? Glycine, taurine, glutamine, and acetylcysteine, and then methionine. Those are amino acids, okay? So you can see here, we need B vitamins, antioxidants, zinc, manganese, those are minerals, selenium, copper, and then we need amino acids for this detoxification process. And then again, getting rid of it, eliminating it. So sweating, drinking good quality water, going to the bathroom regularly, all of those things are really important. So we can probably ditch this slide there. So if you're not eating enough protein or plant foods, you can see there, you may not be giving your body what it needs to really process those exposures. Does that make sense? Do y'all have any crazy detoxification stories or questions for me? Let's see. Tart cherry juice is great for acute muscle pains, Dr. Dustin says. That's awesome. It's also good to help you sleep. If you can't sleep, helps you relax. So you can see like detox gets a bad rap, right? For like it being, I'm going on a detox or whatever, but detoxification is happening in your body every single day. And that process needs to be supported. There's not going to be a quiz. No, I just think it's really cool to see like, how does your body actually use those nutrients? Do they really matter? I think we can all now nod our heads in agreement. Yes, like eating your vegetables actually matters. Eating a varied rainbow diet, not from Skittles. Y'all remember the Eat the Rainbow Skittles commercial? Not that kind of rainbow. From fruits and veggies and whole foods. It really matters. Man, Dr. Dustin, I'll make you a quiz that's open book. I know you need to check those boxes to show your knowledge. I love it. Anyone else wants it, drop it in the chat. I'll send you one. So what do I see in practice with patients? Like, where are these gaps that I'm seeing here? So I see, kind of like we saw, a couple of weeks ago, whenever I looked at Keith's food journal. If you guys missed that episode, make sure you go back and watch it. It was I thought, a really good episode, and you guys might really relate, to what he was struggling with, what his food was looking like. And we gave him some good tips. And I think he's still implementing at least one of the changes, of drinking a blueberry smoothie every day.
Sounds like he cut back on burritos a little too.
Good. But what I'm seeing across the board, it's not just Keith, and it's not just you. If you're feeling like, man, I need to step up my game here. I tend to see pretty low protein intake unless somebody's been watching a lot of like TikTok bodybuilder people, and then they're maybe a little high on the protein. Very low fruit and vegetable intake typically. We're relying on ultra processed foods because we're getting pulled in every direction imaginable. And sometimes we don't know how to cook. Sometimes we're not confident in the kitchen. I had a patient earlier this morning, and he was watching all these YouTube shorts of these people cooking. And he's like, man, it's kind of frustrating. It's like they cook and it looks fine. It looks good and simple, but I don't know where to go to get the recipe. I don't really know how to do it. Like, I bought an acorn squash. I was going to use it and it ended up going bad because I didn't really know what to do with it. So if you aren't somebody who grew up cooking or being taught how to cook or what to do with whole real foods, and this is really something that our society is forgetting. Our kids are not being taught how to prepare whole unprocessed foods, just like we've largely forgotten how to farm, and my ancestors 100 years ago were farmers. Everyone pretty much had a little backyard farm where they, or garden where they would actually get food that they relied on. Ours is like a fun garden where the bunny came and ate all the cantaloupe, and it's kind of sad because we worked hard to grow the one cantaloupe, but we'll just go to the store and buy one. It's fine, right? But like, my ancestors actually had a garden that they like needed to live. We've lost that. Like, a lot of people don't know how to do that. They don't know how to cook. So reliance on these ultra processed packaged foods has become kind of the norm. Skipped meals because we don't have time or we don't know what to eat. I see that happen a lot whenever people are like, I want to stop eating the ultra processed foods, but then they don't really have a plan in place, or they run out of time. And so then they skip a meal, and then maybe they're like starving 8 hours later because they haven't eaten, and so they hit up the drive-thru, right? Or they make a home cooked meal for dinner and they have like 3 servings because they're so hangry by that point. I see that, both of those scenarios kind of happening a lot. Caffeine replacing food. I see that a lot, or caffeine replacing nutrients. So I'm feeling tired this afternoon. You've been kind of maybe eating higher processed foods. Your body doesn't have the raw nutrients it needs to create energy for you. So we talked about the hangry fast energy food a minute ago. Another solution to that is reaching for caffeine, to give them that energy instead of giving your body the raw nutrients it needs. And so most people just don't understand their physiology enough to know what their body really needs. And you feel like the Walking Dead, all the time. But you're not taught this. Like I said, nobody's teaching you this. Nobody's teaching you how to take care of your body. And so that's why I'm doing this show for you guys. So yeah, let's see. Else. Does your thyroid have something to do with nutrition? Yeah, it does. It has a lot to do with metabolism, energy, and then there's some nutrients in thyroid too. Maybe we should do an episode on thyroid health. You guys let me know if that's something. A couple of Brazil nuts every day has enough selenium for you. So if you like Brazil nuts, adding those into your diet could be a good option to get some selenium, at least for your thyroid, which is important. Oh, Dr. Dustin, you say Red Bull is full of B vitamins, and it is. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't looked at the Red Bull label in a while, but I bet it is. But it's also the synthetic vitamins. So your body, they're not the active form of the B vitamins that your body would get from whole foods. It's synthetic man-made B vitamins. Your body actually has to take them and do an extra step to convert them into an active form. And it's methylation. A lot of people, the most common popular one is MTHFR, have this genetic SNP change. Like I said, MTHFR is the most popular, well-known one, where that's the process where they convert the synthetic into the active methylated form of the B vitamins. If you have MTHFR or some of these other genetic SNPs is what they're called, polymorphisms, you cannot convert it as efficiently. So if you're relying on all synthetic vitamins to get your B vitamins, it's just not always going to do the job for you. You didn't know this. I stumped the doctor. Okay, so what are some symptoms? You guys throw these out. Show me what did y'all learn? This is your quiz. How about that? What are some symptoms that you may be experiencing that may be nutrient related? Y'all throw them in the comments. What are some symptoms that you or somebody, you don't have to personally be experiencing them, but name some symptoms that somebody might be experiencing that might be nutrient related. Think through that a minute. I said a few. We've talked about a few. Do y'all know what they are? I'll give y'all a minute. Is it the Jeopardy song? Do, 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 do. Okay, so no one's feeling brave enough to put it in the chat. Fatigue, brain fog, afternoon slump, poor sleep can actually be nutrient related. Thyroid issues, Leslie mentioned. Cravings, right? If you're craving that fast energy, you could actually be not getting enough of the B vitamins or magnesium or some other nutrients that your body needs to make energy, ATP. Digestive issues, mood swings, hormone issues, all of that could be neuropathy, skin discoloration could be. You don't understand, Lugnut, why they would go through the trouble of putting fake vitamins in Monster Red Bull. Well, it wasn't until pretty recently that we understood that there was a difference in how our body processed the synthetic. Like folic acid is the most commonly discussed one. Our body, until recently, they thought our bodies were just like garbage processors that could just like magic things into being. And so they just like threw this stuff in. It doesn't really matter. Your body will do what it needs to do with it. And so it's really been only, in the last, I don't know, 20 or so years, probably 20, 30 years that we've really started understanding all of this, probably less than 30 years. And by then the food industry is already so far down this path. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the government moves pretty slow. And capitalism is king. And so synthetic vitamins are a lot cheaper, probably more stable. Don't quote me on that, but I would guess that they're probably more stable. Definitely, probably easier to keep consistent for like a manufacturing process, because they're produced in a lab, right? So it's more controllable. And so, yeah, that's why they're doing that. Okay. What can you do if you're like, man, I had no idea. I'm not detoxing. I'm not creating energy. I'm a hot mess. What do I do?
Eat a banana.
I've got you. I've always got you guys with the action steps here. I've got 4. Pick one and start tomorrow. Gradually add the others in as you're able to. Number 1, add protein to meals if you're not getting enough protein. If you don't know if you're getting enough protein, track what you're eating for a few days and see how much protein you're getting. About a pound per ideal pound of body weight. So if you're overweight, don't use your current weight. Go look up what your ideal weight is based on your height. Use that as like a target for protein, excluding health issues. That's where a dietitian can come in handy. We can make personalized protein recommendations. If you have a health condition where you need to change how much protein you're getting, please take your doctor or dietitian's advice with that. That's just like a good general rule of thumb for healthy people. So protein is number 1. Add fruits and vegetables daily. You should be getting do y'all remember the 5-a-day campaign from the 90s? 5 fruits and veggies a day. Most of those should be veggies, by the way. 3 veggies, 2 fruits-ish. 4 veggies, 1 fruit. Don't get 5 servings of fruit and 0 veggies a day, please. But 3 or 4 servings of veggies, 1 or 2 servings of fruit. A serving is about a half a cup of cooked veggies, or 1 cup of leafy greens, right? Because they're kind of fluffy. But a half a cup of leafy greens, half a cup of fruit is about a serving. Increase your variety. I have this really cool Eat the Rainbow tracker, but you guys can do it at home. I have it as a free download on my website, but I was looking at it and it's not working. So I got to go figure out the tech side. So I'm not going to be able to put the link in here for you guys. But Roy G. Biv, are you getting something every day or at least every week from every color category of the rainbow? Again, track your food for a few days. This can be a fun challenge actually for kids and families to just eat more variety of color throughout your week, because remember, you're getting different nutrients from different colored food groups. Stay consistent and not perfect, right? That's kind of a bonus one. We're not going for perfection here. Food, I've said this, can be one of life's pleasures. It's meant to be enjoyed. As you start to make more healthy choices, your taste buds will actually shift. You'll start to crave those healthier foods. You'll notice maybe if you were eating a bunch of frozen burritos before, I'm only making fun because you make fun, Keith. But if that's all you were eating before and you felt fine, and then all of a sudden you switched and you were eating whole grass-fed meat, vegetables, whole grains, all of that stuff, and you did that for a month, and then you went back to a week of eating frozen burritos, you'd probably notice that you felt really badly. So your taste buds change, your cravings start to shift over time too. But I'm not saying, that you can't ever have something that's just a fun food, either. I think sometimes food can be fun and that's okay, but you've got to give your body what it needs to function for you. So yeah. I have a question for you guys to kind of take away from this. Think through it. Based on what we talked about tonight, what is one food or nutrient that you think your body might be missing right now? If you want to put it in the chat, you can. If you want to jot that question down on a piece of paper and kind of reflect on it throughout the upcoming week, that'd be great too. I'm going to repeat it for you guys. What is one food or nutrient that you think your body might be missing right now. It can be based on what we talked about tonight. It can be based on just your greater knowledge of nutrition, all of that. Veggies, fiber, those are great. Yeah. And then always, while you guys are thinking about that, if you're stuck, if you feel like you're dealing with these issues and you don't really know how to implement it, or maybe you feel like you're doing the right things, but things aren't shifting, if you need support, we're here in Texas. We are accepting new patients. We do accept insurance. So if you would like to learn more about that, you can definitely check us out over at Nourish and Thrive. I'm sure we can drop my link in the comments for you guys, and we'll be able to provide you guys with that personalized support. Color, Kevin says, yeah, cool. Folic acid, not folic acid, say folate, lug nut. Folate is the active form. Folic acid is the synthetic form. So like a methylated folate, methylfolate. Thanks, Kevin. Or Dr. Dustin. Thank you. I like brown for beef and golden for fried chicken.
Color. Sounds like color.
Kevin, that is color. Probably not color that's going to make you feel better. Brown could be grass-fed beef, certainly. Whole grains. Golden is like the pot at the end of the rainbow, though. I don't think it's in the rainbow. All right. That's all I got. Y'all reach out if y'all have any questions. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Share this with a friend who needs to hear it. Like this episode if you liked what I talked about. Drop any questions that you guys have after our episode in the comments once this video is up, and I can definitely address it next week or address it in the comments. I'd be happy to do that. And thanks for listening in, and we'll see you guys next week.